Howdy, y'all. Caleb here, and we're looking today at the DPS check of Mega Gargants. You may have heard that term thrown around a little bit, and you'll see it a lot when you're going into tournaments. Can you deal with a Mega Gargant? The DPS check kind of refers to you need to be able to kill a Mega Gargant per turn per round when you face this army in a tournament. And you're going to face this army quite a bit in tournaments. They're very popular. They're doing very well. They are very strong in the current meta of Age of Sigmar 3.0. So, what can we do in our army to deal with a Mega Gargant? We have to be able to kill one per turn to survive here, because otherwise they're just going to hold the objectives all game while you're grinding one down. So you got to be able to take one out per turn to be able to win against these Mega Gargants. I found that out in my last tournament pretty quickly, and so we're going to look at some options on how we can take these guys out. I'm not going to go over the whole war scroll, but what we are focusing on is this wound and save characteristics. Mega Gargants all have 35 wounds, and they have a 4-up save, which the 4-up save isn't the best save out there, but when you're talking about 35 wounds, that's a lot. And you can boost that save a lot of different ways. You'll see it used a lot with Mystic Shield, maybe turning one of the Mega Gargants into a wizard so it can cast Mystic Shield on itself, so that'll get it to a 3-up save. Or all-out defense, which will be used a lot, either in the shooting or the melee phase, to where it'll boost it to a 3-up save as well. You'll also see the Amulet of Destiny thrown on one of these Mega Gargants. We're not going to address that. Avoid that Mega Gargant. Kill the other ones first. Let that be the last one left alive to deal with, because it is exponentially harder. The Amulet of Destiny gives them a 5-up ward save, so it just makes it a lot harder to even kill. So we are looking at just a normal Gargant, 35 wounds, 4-up save. Most of the stats we're going to look at are going to be at a 3-up, because it's so easy to boost these guys to a 3-up save. And that's what I feel like you're dealing with most of the time, whether it's through a command point or Mystic Shield or some other method. You're going to have to deal with 3-up save for 35 wounds. These guys are 490 points for the Kraken Eater. That's a cheap one, and up to 525 points. And so, do we have something at that same price range that we can swap with these Mega Gargants? You know, you talk a lot about in Warhammer how I need a certain amount of points to take out your certain amount of points, and I don't want to be on the losing end of that. And so, we're looking for something in that range to take out a Mega Gargant with. So, on to our first unit here. We're looking at, of course, Salamanders. This is one of the big bad guys that we've had in the Seraphim army for a while. They're not quite as good in Age of Sigmar 3 because they've lost a little bit of hitting power and only be able to take 2 in a unit, but they still do pretty good. So when we're looking at 2 Salamanders in shooting and melee, I'm going to include both of those because they actually have a really good melee profile as well. I'm looking at about 11 damage against a 3-up save for 2 Salamanders in shooting and melee. That's pretty awesome for that unit. 10 damage through. A lot of that is through those mortal wounds on 6s in both shooting and the melee phase. So if we just scale that up, we're looking at 6 Salamanders in shooting is what I'm kind of targeting. I'm only including 4 in melee because realistically, if you charge in 3 different units of Salamanders, you're going to attack with 1 in melee. The Gargant's probably going to kill one of them, and then you'll get to attack with the third one. So you're losing a little bit of hitting power just because of activation stuff. And so 6 Salamanders shooting, 4 in melee, we're looking at 28 damage versus a 3-up save. So we're not quite there yet. We can boost that up a little bit if we take our Skink Priest that buffs 1 unit using a command point in the hero phase for +1 to hit. And then I'm probably going to use all-out attack on another unit for another +1 to hit. And at that point, we're getting closer. We're at 32 damage versus a 3-up save. We're getting a lot closer to killing that Mega Gargant. A couple dice go our way, and we've got it. Or use a little bit of chipping damage from something else, and you'll take it down. But that's 800 points for a Skink Priest and 6 Salamanders just to kill 495 points. So not the best trade-off, but it is a way to do it. And so keep that in your pocket if you've got lots of Salamanders. If you're running Salamanders, you can take out a Mega Gargant per turn with 6 Salamanders and a little bit of help. Looking at one of our units we see a lot in Seraphim is Skinks. Skinks have also lost a little bit of hitting power in Age of Sigmar 3 with the loss of 20 extra shots here with the Skinks. They cost a little bit more. The support costs a little bit more, and so we do have ways to buff them up still. And I think this is kind of your standard loadout that you see with 2 attacks each because you're over 15. Priest to give them some buffs. A Star Priest to give them some buffs. Hand of Glory to get those rerolls. And you're looking at 435 points for that setup. And that's your kind of standard setup. We talked about this a lot before in different Skink videos. But the output is, to be honest, kind of sad nowadays. We're looking at less than 10 damage from those 30 Skinks. I had this set up in my last tournament against Mega Gargants. I did shoot into a Mega Gargant with these guys and did about that much damage. I think it was a little bit less. Maybe some bad rolls there, but these are on average here. And so, can you scale this up? Not really, because you can't really take 3 sets of this. And even if you could, you still wouldn't be taking down a Mega Gargant. So don't be looking for Skinks, Skink spam to be taking down the Mega Gargants. They can help, if you've got your Salamanders and you're coming in, backing up in with these Skinks, maybe you can take them out that way. But you can't rely on just Skink spam to take them out. Let's look at one of my favorites here, the Stegadons, of course. And we've talked about the Skink Chief on Stegadon. He is an awesome piece. He can do a lot of damage. You can pump a ton of stuff into that Skink Chief, but you're gonna pay a lot of points for that. Here I'm going with, I think, is what more of the common loadout, which is usually just a priest in addition to your natural buffs. So in Coalesce, you do get +1 to your jaw attacks. You get +1 to mount for Prime War Beast. You get +1 to attacks for Sacred Asterisms. You're doing +1 to your hits from your Skink Priest, and that affects your shots and your melee. And then using a command ability for +1 to attacks there. So you're still able to buff him up quite a bit. And it's really all you're adding is the Skink Priest. So you're not adding a ton here to this cost. And we're coming up almost 20 damage. Oop, cover that up. Almost 20 damage versus the Mega Gargant. And in my last tournament, I got about that. I think when I got this Skink Chief into that Mega Gargant, I didn't have him fully chatted up as we saw in the last video, but you are able to get quite a bit of damage through. That's not bad. It's 305 points for this guy plus 80 for the priest, who the priest will be doing other stuff as well. So it's worth it there. But we can, I think, add some extra Stegadons. And this is where I made the mistake in that last tournament. I didn't charge in my other Stegadons too, and I think I should have. Because if we do that, if we charge in our Chief and let's say 2 Stegadons, that can kill a Mega. That will take down a Mega. You've got your 20 from your 18, I guess, 18 and a half from your Skink Chief. And each Stegadon is going to do about 7 to 8, 7.5 against a 3-up save. But you're also going to get some mortal wounds. All 3 of these guys get impact charges. And so you'll get, I guess on average about 4 mortal wounds through to that. And so with all that stacked on, plus your monstrous actions, you will be able to take down the Mega Gargant. Now, we are talking about 915 points to take down a 495-point hero. So again, we can do it, but we're using half our army to take them down. So it's not very cost effective here. We're having to use twice the cost to take down 500 points there. So it is possible, but also note, like when you're charging in these 3 Stegadons, you're not going to kill the Mega straight up with the Skink Chief. And so he's probably going to hit back one of those other Stegadons. And statistically may not kill it. We're pretty strong against single units or single models, Stegadons are, and we're -1 damage. So I've had Stegadon live versus a Mega, at least for 1 turn. And then you could use a command point from like a Skink Priest to let him fight on full bracket, something like that. So I think you should be able to take him down with 3 Stegadons and a Skink Priest. Again, expensive. Let's look at some of our other monsters here. And we've got a Bastiladon. How about the Bastiladons? Shooting twice in Thunder Lizards with +1 to hit from a Skink Priest, of course. We've got to add that in there. Also, so we have a place to use our command ability from. But that's 315 points, and we're only doing 8 damage versus a 3-up save. So obviously, that ain't going to get it done. But Bastiladon does help out a lot. If you're hitting that Mega with something else, a Bastiladon, which is great, especially if you're playing Thunder Lizards, is great in that army. use this as an extra way to pump out some damage onto that Mega Gargant. So 8's not bad, but obviously Bastiladons aren't going to get it done even if you maxed out Bastiladons. What about our other big monster, the Carnosaur? Carnosaurs, they're hurting a little bit also in Age of Sigmar 3. We can't stack as many command points as we used to, but they can still do some decent damage. So Coalesce, we get +1 to jaw attacks, which they have those juicy 5 damage attacks. Prime Warbeast gets it. We could put an extra mount attack on that. We could get an extra attack from Sacred Asterisms. +1 to hit naturally on the charge, which we'd be doing, of course. And then spend a command point to explode the 6s so we get extra hits. Even with that stuff, that's all, comes pretty naturally. So at that point, we're only talking 215 points and a command point. We're looking at only 13 damage versus that 3-up save. So, if you could somehow get 3 Carnosaurs into a Mega, what are you talking about? You're talking 645 points. I mean, it's not that much more than a Gargant. But you're not going to get all 3 of those attacks. You're going to get one of those to attack. The Gargant's going to kill the other Carnosaur probably, or at least bracket him very heavily. And then you might get the third one to attack. So you probably aren't going to bring down a Mega Gargant with 3 Carnosaurs. And definitely not with 2, because the Gargant will get to attack back. So a good way to get some damage on him, but not going to take him out in a turn, and that's what you got to do. What about some Knights? Knights have a ton of attacks. You can get a lot of attacks out of these guys. And I won't go through all these buffs here, but you can buff them up quite a bit with some support heroes. With the Scarvet on Carnosaur and the Star Priest are really give some good bonuses to them, and you can still stack them. If you're in Kotal's Claw, you can get some good stuff here. But we're still talking, 14 damage versus a 3-up save. So not taking them down with 5. Of course, that's only 5 Knights. You still got other stuff. But you would have to pump up these Knights, and because of unit cohesion, you're really not going to be able to get what you would need, 15 Knights, into combat with the Gargant before he could strike back. And so Knights can do some damage, but again, not going to take them down in one turn. And this is, we're approaching, if you're taking 15 Knights, a Carnosaur, and a Star Priest in one list, there's no way to get 15 in combat at one time because of unit cohesion. But if you could, you're approaching a pretty expensive little chunk of your army that's going to get blasted there. What about Saurus Warriors? Can they do it? Well, here's, Spears, which I think is what you're going to take with Warriors, and we'll have a video on that coming out, I think, tomorrow. We've got Spears with 2 ranks deep, so that'd be about 20 Saurus Warriors attacking. They can actually do some pretty decent damage. I mean, that's a respectable number there. Against a 3-up save, you're doing 19 damage. This is with a couple of different buffs, kind of that same setup, the Scarvet on Carnosaur and the Star Priest, which is pretty standard for a lot of our Saurus stuff. And but still not taking them down. You're looking at 660 points. You could pile in the Carnosaur at the same time, and once you've attacked with all your warriors, you could attack with your Carnosaur. But if you're not killing that Mega in one go, he's probably swinging back pretty hard onto that Carnosaur and bracketing that Carnosaur, if not killing him. So not quite doing it with the Warriors either. Need some help to push him over the edge. Some other quick ones here. We'll go through some other ones here. Kroxigor. This is a respectable... Oh, I just covered it up again. This is a respectable number. Almost 20 damage versus a 3-up save. And that's just with the Star Priest added in. I think I need to reconsider some Kroxigor. This is... I kind of like this. But not gonna kill a Mega Gargant, and unfortunately you can't buff up Kroxigor any higher. If we could take 9 of them, you might be able to do a little bit more damage there. Well, you would be able to do, obviously. 9 more than 6 is more damage. But Kroxigor aren't going to do it. Let's move on to the next one. Terradons. I was hopeful for Terradons, but they're not going to do it either. Because we're capped at 6 in a unit now. They're just even dropping bombs on 2-ups with the Terradon Chief. Just not going to do it. You're not even taking them. You're taking them about a third of the way down there. What about our Dreadsaurian, our big bad guy? Nope, obviously not. And some other quick ones. Nope on the Ripperdactyls. They're not very good nowadays. They have a lot of attacks. No, they're not very good. Razordons, they have a lot of attacks, but they're terrible attacks, and so and random. So they're not going to do it. Chameleon Skinks, I think I worked it out. You'd need about it was like 15 or 16 units of Chameleon Skinks to take out a Mega. So probably not your best use of resources. The the Troglodon is obviously not going to take him out either. So I think that covers most of the Seraphim models that we have. I think there's a couple allies that are worth looking at. So the allies, this is one of the newest ones, Bastian Carthalos from Stormcast Eternals. And he's got that nasty 4 damage hammer, which is nice, and he's fairly tough, but he's only doing about 7 damage versus a 3-up save. I think the thing that's worth mentioning is his ability, this Thunderborn ability. And once per turn in your hero phase, you pick one enemy unit on the battlefield. So anywhere on the battlefield, roll the number of dice equal to the wounds characteristics of that unit. So for a Mega Gargant, that would be 35 dice you're going to roll. And for each 6, the unit suffers 1 mortal wound. So that's pretty cool. It's only going to work out to about 6 mortal wounds, but if you're someone who likes to roll, they roll lots of 6s. Maybe you get lucky. Maybe you spike this hard. You roll a ton of 6s, and you do well. This is a piece that can actually support a lot of those other things that we were talking about. If you're taking him as your hero, he's good in combat. He's tough, but he can also help you take out those Mega Gargants at the same time with that chip damage from anywhere on the board. So that one's pretty nice. I think though the clear choice of what is going to be used to take out Mega Gargants is, of course, the little ginger dwarf. Gotrek, it's hard to get away from him, especially in this, Hero Hammer edition of Age of Sigmar. He's not going to take out a Mega Gargant all by himself. If we look at his damage versus a 3-up save, we're looking at 28 damage. And, I mean, that's awesome. That's good. But still doesn't finish off a Mega Gargant. But that means all you need to do is chip in some extra damage. Bring in that Bastiladon to fire over the top of a Gotrek and help finish him off. And we have a lot of things that at our disposal in our list that can really supplement Gotrek. Now, he's not going to kill a Gargant turn 1 unless they're being real aggressive with their Gargants. So you do have to take that into consideration. Can you put enough damage on another Gargant and give Gotrek time to get into the middle of the table and kill off a Gargant in turn 2? But I do think for his point value as an ally, he's going to be a pretty big answer in our lists to the Mega Gargant meta that's going on right now. So, hopefully I gave some good answers. How do we kill a Mega Gargant? I don't think there's just one unit that Seraphim has that we can say, take this and kill Mega Gargants with it. Here's 500 points of this hero in our army that can take out a Mega Gargant. We don't really have that. But we do have enough options that I think you can combo things up. You can take some Stegadons. You can fire over the top with some Bastiladon. You can take enough Salamanders to supplement a Gotrek. And you can take Skinks to harass something that you're charging with a bunch of melee stuff. So I think we have combos that can take out a Mega Gargant. No one real clear answer other than probably Gotrek, but we do have some combos. So let us know in the comments below what your combo is for taking out a Mega Gargant, because I've got some tournaments coming up and I need your help. How do I take out the Mega Gargants? So let's form a repository here in the comments so that we can see how's everybody dealing with the Mega Gargants right now. All right, guys. Catch y'all later.